Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Home Care and Assisted Living Business Series podcast presented by me, Alan Cheney. This evening, or whatever time you're listening to it, I'm going to talk about independent living. It's a strategy that I recently became familiar with. I heard of it, but I wasn't as familiar with it because my focus was always assisted living, medical, home care, stuff like that. Independent living is a different strategy. It's a non-medical strategy for senior housing, and the ages are people come to independent livings at a little younger, and obviously with less problems than assisted living. So there's not as much. There's no medical need usually for the most part, and if it is, it's something managed by the physicians. And if they need extra care, like home care or something like that from us, they could buy that in addition to the living situation. But independent living, it has a very low barrier of entry because of that. There's no license requirement in most states. There's no, it's not regulated. There's no medical staff, and it's just usually a full time aide from what we've implemented. We're using one full time aide per home, and then like a fill in if she ever needs time off and stuff like that. So um, the the um, the income that you get per bed is a little lower. When you're thinking about assisted living, you're getting about um, 3,000 and up. Some states by as low as 2,500, but usually at least 3,000 and up for just like your normal average, even below average property. Will get you at least 3 grand per bed for assisted living. Independent living, because there's no medical need, there's no there's no need for a nurse, there's no need for 24-hour medical staff. So there's no real medical services being provided. So we only charge between 1,700 per bed for a semi-private, and then like up to like 2,000 for a private room in these independent living facilities. And again, you call it independent living communities, but they're just homes. Um, some of the things that we do offer in our property at our independent living is an aide, like I had mentioned. This aide is there 9 to 5. She's cooking 3 square meals, 3 healthy meals, and then also 2 snacks. You know what I mean? So they can eat like 5 times. That's what we're going to provide. Obviously, there's other food in there, but that's part of what the meals that we're going to actually give them. We do medication reminders. That's just reminding them, making sure they have their meds and stuff like that. Again, this is a non-medical property, so we don't pass meds or anything like that. Again, if they want those services or they need those kind of services, they can hire us outside of the independent living, and then we can send in an actual caregiver for them if they need these extra services. But again, like I said, most of these people who are in this situation, they're independent. That's what's called independent living. They can come and go. They can pretty much take care of their own medications, but sometimes they do need medication reminders. We also provide housekeeping, where they don't have to clean up anymore. They basically have somebody cleaning up after them, making sure their rooms are straight, making their beds, vacuuming, dusting and things like that. So they're basically always in a well kept home, very clean and neat spaces. Laundry, the same thing. We do all their laundry on site, and if they have dry cleaning and stuff like that, we could take their stuff across the street, get it dry cleaned, and bring it back for them. They also get, what's included is just a value add is cable TV, internet, home security. We all have, all our properties have home security through Xfinity now. And then, extra safety features like grab bars and, just little things that they may need in the property to feel safe and secure, and their family can feel safe and secure about them living there alone. Not with another family member. They do have other residents, and obviously they have the aid. We provide transportation, and with the transportation, it's a schedule. So between 9 and 5, they have an opportunity to sit down with the aide and kind of map out everybody's days and times and where they want to go and the things that they may want to do throughout the week. And we just get a schedule, and then that's how we provide transportation for everybody. If there's conflicts, it's real simple to work around, so it's not really a big deal for that. That's the aide is usually doing transportation for the week, during the week from Monday through Friday, and then we have a part-time just transportation aide for religious services if the members want to go do church and things of that nature. So on Saturday, on Fridays, on Sundays, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the weekends, different services that they have access to, and then we don't mind taking them to. And just some of the other things that we take them to is like the bingo. The downtown area has a lot of activities and restaurants and things like that they might want to go hang out for an hour or two, drop them off, pick them back up, or they might want to go to the movie. So we're just kind of taking them around and making sure they have everything that they need done. Just like if they had a family member that they wanted to, that they don't have to, bug, they got that right at the facility, at the home. So independent living, it's a great strategy for those who aren't necessarily ready to go full-fledged medical and like have a whole staff, but are also interested in making more money off of your property, your investment or your property, than normal market rent. Normal market rent, for me at this point, once I've learned about senior housing, it's just like it's a no-brainer. There's no way I can go back to making $200-300 a month off of property. So I have to have 1,000 properties to make any kind of money. It's just too much liability. It's too much headache. We can make off an independent property. The average real estate investor or landlord, he's going to need 4 or 5 properties to make that same amount. So it's just just with knowledge, becomes comes better opportunities and stuff. So the more the more opportunities you have access to. So if you were just looking at it, we usually pay our aides around $12.50 an hour. So like a full-time aide, that's about $2K a month. $1,700 for, say, like if you got a 4-bedroom for 2 rooms. $1,900 for the private rooms, or not even 2 rooms. The $1,700, it could be in 1 room. You could have 2 people in a semi-private and charge $1,700. So if you even had a 3-bedroom and you had 3 people at $1,900, or 2 people at $1,900 and then 2 people at $1,700, I think that puts you at around $7,200 a month. And then once you take away, the basic, the house bills, what you're gonna pay your staff, you can still be walking away with like $3 to $4 grand after all your bills are paid. And that's just a great strategy, I think, for a simple, small, single family home, 3-4 bedroom, 1,000, at least 1,000 square feet. It's just a great opportunity to make some great income, and then also start preparing yourself and building a brand into an actual assisted living, if that was the direction you wanted to go in. And some say, so how I learn more about independent living from a state perspective, from a license perspective, the way Maryland does it is that every room that you have to do a sketch. So if I have a 5-bedroom house that I'm trying to get licensed for assisted living, and I want to use 3 of those bedrooms for assisted living, and I can just not put the other 2 on there, and I can use those for independent living. So they only license the rooms that you put on your sketch. So you say, why would you do that, Alan? Why would you leave 2 bedrooms out when you can get all 5 bedrooms assisted living, and instead of just 3? Well, the license process takes time, and I would much rather have income coming in, because independent living residents can move in immediately. There's no license requirement and stuff like that. I can't take an assisted living resident until I have a license. until that property's been surveyed, and then actually we get the actual license. But so what we do is you leave a couple bedrooms off the sketch, and then you put 2 clients in there immediately. So I know I always talk about live in the property, but it's only so many places you can live. If you have multiple properties, you can't live in multiple properties. Don't make sense. But like if you're doing your first property, that's not an issue, because you could be actually just living, paying the mortgage, and just owning it, until you get it licensed. But if you have an empty property, I would rather have 2 independent living residents in there while I'm waiting to get the other 3 rooms licensed. And then once we get the license, we can turn those independent living rooms, we can convert them into assisted living rooms later on, like say like after the fact that those people who moved in, the independent living residents, eventually move out. We don't kick anybody out or anything like that. We let them, live out their lease. So that's just another like little tip that you can do if you're getting a license, if you're getting an assisted living license and it's taking you some time, or you're just trying to learn the process on your own and just trying to figure it out. And you have a property, you're getting it set up, and you don't have, any income coming in. Set up a room or 2 for independent living. Make sure you double check with what your state requirements are. Some states might not allow it. I haven't ran into a state that doesn't allow that yet, but definitely check with your state regulations, your Department of Aging, your Department of Health, whoever is over the licensing for assisted living, and kind of get a feel for what the independent living rules are, if there are any, and also if I have independent residence, will that affect your license? I don't want you to say, oh, okay, I got these two independent living clients, and now I have a survey coming, and now they won't, double check, make sure you check this stuff. Just don't listen to me on the podcast and then start going to, taking action. Every state is different, and you just want to make sure you're doing it the right way based on the laws of your community, the laws in your county, state, and city. Another thing that I wanted to kind of give you an idea about, or kind of let you guys know, is the price. So when you say $1,700 a month for a semi-private room, or $1,900 a month for a private room in independent living, or if you say $3,500, or if you say $4,500 for assisted living room in assisted living, or and like $3,000 for a semi-private room in assisted living. Like I got a lot of pushback on the internet, on my Facebook page, on my business page, because it's like as many people as I thought was in the industry. And I mean, these are caregivers. A lot of people on my page are caregivers, nurses, and they have no clue that these facilities, they're actually working in these assisted livings, and they have no clue what these people were paying. And it's kind of a tragedy, because if they knew how much the people was paying, they would probably be more inclined to start a business instead of just working for somebody else for the rest of their life. So it's like, I want you guys to, poke around, go into your community, look for independent living. Just Google independent living, say, independent living, what's the city? Indianapolis. Independent living, Atlanta. Independent living, Florida. Dallas. Wherever you're at, Google search independent living, and then put your city in there, and then start secret shopping some of these local facilities and see how much they're paying. And then you'll see, like, oh God, this dude on this podcast ain't bullshitting. He's really, these are the numbers. And then I'm not in the highest marketplace. Like, you go out to California, these numbers double. You looking like Minnesota, these numbers almost triple. And I don't know why, but it's just certain locales are just, they charge, the market is different. And I don't control the pricing. I just can take advantage of the opportunity to build wealth, and also create a great living experience and a higher quality of living for seniors who can afford it. A lot of times people say, "Oh, well, that's a lot of money." Well, like, I'm not in the business of this isn't a nonprofit organization. I'm not trying to create an environment for the least the people who can afford it the least. Like, that's not my business model. That's not what I'm in it to do. And I'm sure a lot of people, if that's what they're interested in doing, you can go put together a property, and put together, a staff, and however you get it funded, and then begin to charge people less if you feel like that there's some kind of um discrepancy or price gouging that you feel like is going on in your community. Don't complain about it or look at it like it's a problem. Be the solution. Go out there and create some facilities that's more affordable for people who are in that price range. A lot of these families, what people don't understand, my clients prepared for the situation. They prepared to live in a property that's decent, safe, nice, upscale, in a decent community. Usually the community they've lived in through insurance. They paid into long-term care policies, or or they just had savings, and this is the money that they put away for this. People's plan for this. A lot of people in the middle class and lower don't really plan for retirement. So they did the concept when they start seeing these numbers, because I'm talking to a lot of middle class and lower class families. They never even seen these kind of numbers, so they don't understand. They've been a part of the industry as employees, and obviously the owners never let the employees know how much they're making if they can help it. But that's the beauty of coming to my podcast, where I'm going to give you the information to give you the real deal, so you can take advantage of the opportunity, use what we're teaching, and go into and become part of this this boom, which is senior housing, which is the silver tsunami, which is the mega trend in the aging population, is going to be going on for probably the next 20 years. So that's my spiel for the evening. Hopefully you guys get something out of it. Independent living is a great strategy. If you're not ready to go all the way all the way to assisted living, take the independent living route. Find out what your state requirements are. See if you could do both, like blended house, some independent, some rooms assisted, and then maximize your value, what you can get from that particular property, or go all independent living, start making some income, go get into another property, and keep on doing it until you have multiple properties, and then you'll be surprised what you could do with this strategy, with this business model. And hopefully this was informative for you all. Hopefully you catch us on the next one. Peace.